Musk deer resemble small, stocky deer with longer hind legs and no antlers, but males have enlarged upper canines that form tusks. They inhabit hilly, forested areas, are herbivores, and are generally solitary and shy, marking territories with their caudal glands. Hunted for their valuable musk glands used in perfumes, these deer fetch high prices on the black market. Musk is used in different pharmaceutical products. Even though a synthetic musk has been developed, it hasn't completely replaced the use of natural musk, and the demand is increasing even outside of Asia. The alpine musk deer has been hunted for centuries, but the introduction of guns in the last century led to increased hunting. The use of snare traps takes a toll on the species, although it is not a target species. Since the demand for musk has increased internationally, the supply from musk deer farms has been exceeded, putting even more pressure on the wild population. Musk will mark their territory, warning trespassing deer not to cross the boundary. When marking their territories, musk deer gather fallen branches, tree trunks, as well as plant stems, and place them in a circle. While placing the various branches around the circle, the deer will often do an olfactory examination and turn the back of its body towards the marked territories. Another way the Siberian musk deer will mark its territory is by defecating in already marked territories or unclaimed territories. Musk deer have a preference for easily digestible nutritious foods that are both rich in protein and low in fiber. During periods of winter, musk deer can survive in even poorer food quality, ranging in foods that are low in proteins but are high in energy and can be easily digested. The most striking characteristics of the Siberian musk deer are its tusks and kangaroo-like face. Males grow the teeth for display instead of antlers. The saola is active both day and night but prefers resting during hot midday hours. Though usually solitary, saolas have been seen in groups of up to 7, and their grouping patterns are similar to anoas and sitatungas. In captivity, a female saola showed a preference for broad-leaved shrubs or trees of the Sterculiaceae family, feeding mainly during the day and exhibiting unique behaviors such as grooming with her tongue and marking territory with secretions from her maxillary gland. The saola is currently considered to be critically endangered. Its restrictive habitat requirements and aversion to human proximity are likely to endanger it through habitat loss and habitat fragmentation. Saola suffer losses through local hunting and the illegal trade in furs, traditional medicines, and for use of the meat in restaurants and food markets. One of the defining features of African giant buffalo are its massive horns. The largest horn cores can reach sizes of as much as 3 meters from tip to tip. Due to possessing such vast horns, it seems likely that it was limited to wide open areas with few trees. Isotopic and mesowear evidence indicate that it was a grazer, and its massive body size suggests that it consumed large quantities of low-quality forage. Judging from the rock art, it seems pairs of the male animals would fight by ramming each other's horns with their heads lowered. This is illustrated numerous times. Rock art also suggests that it may have lived in large herds. The African buffalo is a highly successful grazer living in diverse habitats such as savannas, swamps, floodplains and mountain forests. They prefer dense cover but can also be found in open woodlands and require daily access to water. Buffalo herds mow down tall, coarse grasses, facilitating grazing for other species, and move quickly to avoid trampled or depleted areas. While they face few predators besides humans, they can defend themselves against lions, which often require multiple individuals to take down a single buffalo. Conflicts with other large animals are rare but can be deadly. Herd size in African buffaloes is highly variable, with core herds made up of related females and their offspring, surrounded by subherds of subordinate males and other individuals. Females exhibit voting behavior by standing, shuffling and sitting in the direction they think the herd should move, ultimately making a communal decision. When chased by predators, the herd sticks close together, placing calves in the middle and responding to distress calls, sometimes mobbing predators and rescuing threatened members. The water buffalo's skin of individuals living close to rivers is black, while those from swamp have gray skin at birth that turns slate blue. These animals are well adapted to hot climates, requiring water sources for wallowing and thermoregulation, and their diets include a variety of aquatic plants and fodder crops. They are both diurnal and nocturnal. Adult females and their young form stable clans of as many as 30 individuals which have home ranges of 170 to 1,000 hectares, including areas for resting, grazing, wallowing, and drinking. Clans are led by old cows, even when bulls accompany the group. Several clans form a herd of 30 to 500 animals that gather at resting areas. Water buffaloes are vital for agricultural work, especially in rice paddies, due to their adaptability to muddy conditions, and they are also used for milk, meat, and as pack animals. Globally, around 26 million water buffaloes are slaughtered annually, contributing significantly to meat and milk production, particularly in regions prone to nutritional imbalances. Located on the Pacific Ring of Fire, the islands of the Philippines were formed through volcanic activity at the junction of several tectonic plates. Most of the 7,400 islands in the archipelago have never been connected to any other landmass, resulting in a vast number of unique endemic species evolving from organisms that arrived via ocean rafting events. The Cebu tamaraw, a particularly tiny species of wild cattle related to modern water buffalo, stood just 75 centimeters at the shoulder and was an example of insular dwarfism, even smaller than the modern tamaraw of Mindoro. Due to a spotty fossil record, it is difficult to determine when they disappeared, but they likely went extinct around the arrival of early humans approximately 700,000 years ago. Longhorned bison is believed to have evolved in North America from the steppe bison, which migrated across the Bering Land Bridge around 150,000 years ago. The earliest fossil dates to around 120,000 years ago from the Snowmass site in Colorado. This species ranged across much of North America, from southern Mexico to southern Canada. Isotopic analysis suggests a primarily grazing diet, with some variation depending on the region and season. It likely coexisted with the ancient bison, the ancestor of modern American bison. While traditionally thought to have gone extinct around 20,000 years ago, remains from South Texas suggest they survived until about 13,000 years ago. Human hunting pressure may have contributed to their extinction. The European bison, also known as the wisent, is one of two extant bison species alongside the American bison. It is the heaviest wild land animal in Europe, with historical individuals possibly larger than modern ones. By the early 20th century, they were hunted to extinction in the wild, surviving only in captivity. Through captive breeding programs, their population increased to several thousand recently, and they were reintroduced into the wild. Despite this recovery, they remain absent from much of their historical range. European bison faced few predators besides humans, who hunted them for their hide, meat and horns. The last wild European bison were shot in the 20s, but the Bialowieza population survived in captivity and was later reintroduced. The International Union for Conservation of Nature reclassified the species from endangered to near threatened. Initially described by Carl Linnaeus in 1758, the European bison's ancestry and relationship to other bison species remain controversial. The American bison, distinguished by its shaggy, dark brown winter coat and lighter summer coat, exhibits size dimorphism with males being larger and heavier. Plains bison are generally smaller, while wood bison are larger, with males reaching up to 3.5 meters in headrump length and 3 meters in height at withers, weighing between 320 to 1100 kilograms. Bison are herbivores, grazing on grasses and sedges, with a daily routine of grazing, resting, and cud chewing, followed by movement to new grazing areas. They migrate in herds directionally and altitudinally, covering daily distances of up to 3 kilometers during summer. Their summer ranges are influenced by seasonal vegetation, foraging site availability and water access. Buffalo hunting by indigenous peoples was integral, providing food, hides, tools and ceremonial uses, but government-led massacres during the American Indian Wars nearly led to species extinction by 1890. Bison held deep cultural significance for Plains tribes, their loss resulting in profound spiritual and societal impacts. Today, Native American conservation efforts focus on restoring bison herds to tribal lands for cultural revitalization and ecosystem restoration. Bison's economic viability as a hardy cattle substitute supports their resurgence, crucial given their drastic population decline from an estimated 60 million in the 1870s to just 100 individuals split among isolated herds and a wild group in Yellowstone National Park. Yaks are robust animals characterized by their bulky frames, sturdy legs, and dense, long fur that extends below their bellies. Males weigh between 350 to 580 kilograms, with wild bulls reaching up to 1,000 kilograms. Both sexes possess long, shaggy hair with a dense undercoat, particularly prominent in bulls that can form a skirt reaching the ground. Yaks are adapted for high altitudes, featuring larger lungs and hearts than lower-altitude cattle, and they maintain high oxygen transport capacity throughout life due to persistent fetal hemoglobin. However, they struggle in temperatures above 15 degrees Celsius due to their cold-adapted physiology, including thick subcutaneous fat and minimal sweat glands. Their large rumen relative to the omasum allows yaks to consume and digest significant quantities of low-quality food, primarily grasses, sedges, herbs, and dwarf shrubs. Domesticated for millennia, yaks provide milk, wool and meat, and serve as beasts of burden in regions like Tibet. Their dried dung is a vital fuel source in treeless high-altitude areas. Yaks are silent animals, known for grunting and squeaking rather than lowing like cattle. The aurochs was an extinct species of wild cattle, known as the ancestor of modern domestic cattle, with bulls reaching up to 180 centimeters in shoulder height and cows up to 150 centimeters. It evolved in Asia during the Pleistocene and migrated westward and northward during warm interglacial periods. Fossil evidence from India, North Africa, and Europe dates back to the Middle Pleistocene and Holstein Interglacial, with remains found as far north as Denmark and southern Sweden during the Holocene. The species declined due to habitat loss and hunting, eventually going extinct around the 70th century. The aurochs was depicted in Paleolithic cave paintings, Neolithic petroglyphs, ancient Egyptian reliefs, and Bronze Age figurines, symbolizing power and religious significance in the ancient Near East. Two domestication events occurred during the Neolithic Revolution, one in the Fertile Crescent giving rise to Bos taurus, introduced to Europe via the Balkans and Mediterranean coast, and another in India leading to Bos indicus, which later hybridized with taurine cattle in the Near East. The nilgai, Asia's largest antelope, is diurnal and exhibits distinct daily feeding peaks at dawn, morning, afternoon, and evening. They typically form small groups of 10 or fewer individuals, though larger groups of 20 to 70 can occur occasionally. Social dynamics vary by season and age, with females and juveniles avoiding male interaction outside of mating periods. They are generally tame but can display timid or cautious behavior when alarmed, capable of fleeing up to 700 meters on a gallop. Alarmed individuals emit short guttural grunts or coughing roars to communicate danger within the herd. In territorial disputes, fights between nilgai involve neck pushing and horn ramming, occasionally resulting in injuries or fatalities. Nilgai are primarily grazers but also browse on woody plants in dry tropical forests, with diets rich in grasses, herbs, and occasionally woody vegetation. They can survive extended periods without water, even in summer, due to efficient physiological adaptations. Tragelaphini has diverged from their closet sister taxon for the last 15 to 18 million years. It was once thought that spiral-horned antelopes were uniquely African, but there have been Eurasian fossils found in Greece and the Caucasus. Horns are present in the males of all species, while females lack them with the exception of bongos and elands. Despite being among the largest species of antelope, they are actually more closely related to cattle, and together along with a few apparent Asiatic species belong to the subfamily Bovini. While the group's evolutionary history occurred in Africa, there have been fossil species that have been found in Eurasia which may also be the place of origin for this group. The giant eland, the largest antelope species globally, measures 290 centimeters in head and body length and stands approximately 180 centimeters tall at the shoulder. They exhibit significant sexual dimorphism, with males weighing between 400 to 1,200 kilograms and females between 300 to 600 kilograms. These antelopes possess a prominent crest of black hair along their necks and shoulders, complemented by slender legs bearing black and white markings. Both sexes boast V-shaped, tightly spiraled horns that are longer and thicker in males, growing up to 120 centimeters in length. Giant elands are primarily nocturnal, displaying large home ranges and forming herds of 15 to 25 animals that remain cohesive throughout the year. Known for their alert and wary behavior, they can run at speeds exceeding 70 km per hour and are capable jumpers, clearing heights up to 1.5 meters. Their predators include lions, Nile crocodiles, and spotted hyenas, with adult males being formidable opponents even for lion prides. As herbivores, giant elands feed on grasses, foliage, and occasionally fruits, using their horns to access browse during the dry season and demonstrating adaptations to survive in arid environments by minimizing water loss through behavioral strategies. Overall, giant elands exemplify robust physical adaptations and complex social behaviors, making them both elusive targets for predators and fascinating subjects for ecological study. The Nyala, primarily active during early mornings and late afternoons, adjusts its browsing patterns based on temperature and season, resting in dense bushes during hot daylight hours. Known for its shy and cautious nature, it typically remains hidden and is often observed near water holes. Herds are segregated by sex or mixed, with group sizes ranging from 2 to 10 individuals, occasionally reaching up to 30 in Zinave National Park. Adult males tend to remain solitary, while females maintain closer relationships within their herds, especially when raising offspring. These antelopes use sharp, dog-like barks, mainly by females, to warn of danger and respond to alarm calls from other species like impala and baboons. The Nyala faces threats such as poaching, habitat loss due to agriculture and grazing, and historical impacts from diseases like rinderpest, although its population is currently stable and categorized as least concern. Greater kudus have a lifespan of 7 to 8 years in the wild, and up to 23 years in captivity. They may be active throughout the 24-hour day. Herds disperse during the rainy season when food is plentiful. During the dry season, there are only a few concentrated areas of food, so the herds will congregate. They are not territorial, they have home areas instead. Despite being very nimble over rocky hillsides and mountains, the greater kudu is not fast enough to escape its main predators over open terrain, so it tends to rely on leaping over shrubs and small trees to shake off pursuers. They have excellent hearing and acute eyesight, which helps to alert them to approaching predators. Their coloring and markings protect kudus by camouflaging them. Greater kudus have both benefited and suffered from interaction with humans. Humans are turning much of the kudu's natural habitat into farmland, restricting their home ranges. Humans have also destroyed woodland cover, which they use for their habitat. However, wells and irrigation set up by humans has also allowed the greater kudu to occupy territory that would have been too devoid of water for them previously. The greater kudu are also a target for poachers for meat and horns. Bongos are found in tropical jungles with dense undergrowth up to an altitude of 4,000 meters in Central Africa. They favor disturbed forest mosaics that provide fresh, low-level green vegetation. Such habitats may be promoted by heavy browsing by elephants, fires, flooding, tree felling and fallowing. They require salt in their diets, and are known to regularly visit natural salt licks. Bongos are also known to eat burnt wood after a storm, as a rich source of salt and minerals. This behavior is believed to be a means of getting salts and minerals into their diets. This behavior has also been reported in the okapi. Another similarity to the okapi, though the bongo is unrelated, is that the bongo has a long prehensile tongue which it uses to grasp grasses and leaves. Suitable habitats for bongos must have permanent water available. As a large animal, the bongo requires an ample amount of food, and is restricted to areas with abundant year-round growth of herbs and low shrubs. The impala is a medium-sized antelope, standing 70 to 90 centimeters tall at the shoulder and weighing between 40 and 75 kilograms. Its reddish-brown coat is glossy, and males possess lyre-shaped horns. Active primarily during the day, it exhibits gregarious or territorial behavior depending on environmental factors. They are known for their distinctive leaps, an anti-predator strategy. The annual rut, lasting about 3 weeks, occurs at the end of the wet season, typically in May. During this period, dominant males engage in fierce battles for mating rights, after which they court females in estrus. Gestation lasts 6 to 7 months, resulting in the birth of a single calf that is immediately concealed by the mother. Calves are nursed for 4 to 6 months, after which young males join bachelor herds, while females remain in female herds. Impalas inhabit woodlands and ecatones between woodlands and savannas, favoring areas near water sources. It is widely distributed across its range and has been reintroduced in some regions of southern Africa and Gabon. Duikers are split into 2 groups based on their habitat, forest and bush duikers. All forest species inhabit the rainforests of sub-Saharan Africa. They are very shy, elusive creatures with a fondness for dense cover. Those that tend to live in more open areas, for example, are quick to disappear into thickets for protection. The common name duiker comes from the Afrikaans word duik, that mean to dive, which refers to the practice of the animals to frequently dive into vegetation for cover. Zebra duikers have displayed diurnal activity when living in captive situations, but mostly nocturnal in the wild. They are solitary animals that form pair bonds for breeding purposes. Both the male and female participate in the defense of young and home range. Gentinx duiker inhabits dense rainforests of Liberia. Named after Fredericus Anna Gentinck, it is the largest duiker species, standing around 80 centimeters tall and weighing about 70 kilograms. Their coloration includes gray from the shoulders back, black from the shoulders forward, and a distinctive white band across the shoulders and undersides. These duikers primarily feed on fallen fruit, flowers, leaves and various plant parts found in the forest canopy. They are nocturnal, often sheltering during the day in thickets or buttress roots, usually in pairs. Gentinx duikers are known to be territorial and can run swiftly when alarmed, though they tire quickly. Initially recognized in 1884, Gentinx duiker was formally described in 1892 but was considered extinct until a 1948 sighting in Liberia. Yellowback duikers are primarily found in forested habitats including semi-deciduous forests and montane forests, but they can also inhabit open bush and savanna clearings. Their body shape, convex and agile, facilitates swift movement through dense vegetation. These antelopes are highly skittish and easily stressed, fleeing blindly when threatened, even running into obstacles like enclosure glass in captivity. They are predominantly solitary or in pairs, exhibiting elusive behaviors that limit ecological and demographic understanding compared to other ungulates. In the wild, they live 10 to 12 years, but can reach 22 years in captivity. Their diet consists mainly of fruits, supplemented with shoots, roots, leaves and buds. They are adept at digesting poor-quality food and are known to occasionally consume small animals like birds, a behavior uncommon among antelopes. The klipspringer is a small, sturdy antelope with a shoulder height of 40 to 60 centimeters and a weight of 8 to 18 kilograms. Females are slightly larger and heavier than males. It has short, spiky horns present only in males, measuring 8 centimeters in length. Its yellowish-gray to reddish-brown coat blends well with its rocky habitat, with a white underbelly. Klipspringers have a unique gait, walking on the tips of their blunt hooves, enhancing their grip on rocky surfaces. They are typically nocturnal, resting during midday and more active on moonlit nights. They exhibit monogamous behavior, forming pairs that remain close and cooperate in lookout duties and facing danger together. They vocalize with a shrill whistle, often in duets with their partners. Klipspringers face predation from various animals including baboons, leopards and eagles. They exhibit grooming behaviors that attract birds like starlings and bulbuls, which feed on their ectoparasites. Adult Bates's pygmy antelope weigh approximately 2 to 3 kilograms and measure 50 to 60 centimeters in length. Only males possess horns, which are about 5 centimeters long. Their coat displays a shiny dark chestnut color on the back, transitioning to a lighter shade on the flanks. Male pygmy antelope are notably larger than females. In terms of ecology, it primarily feed on leaves, buds, shoots, fungus, grass, and herbs, but they also consume crops, which often leads to conflicts with farmers. They are vulnerable to snares placed near agricultural fields. Their typical territory spans 2 to 4 hectares. Males establish and mark their territories using scent from preorbital glands, while females exhibit more sociable behavior, sometimes living in small groups. When alarmed, they emit a distinctive bark while fleeing. Dik-diks are among the smallest antelopes globally, with only males possessing backward slanted horns measuring about 8 centimeters in length. They exhibit sexual dimorphism, where females are larger and hornless, while males have a more developed muzzle and lighter coloration. They are well adapted to arid regions in eastern Africa, characterized by a hairy proboscis with slit-like nostrils that aid in cooling blood via nasal panting. These antelopes employ various water and energy conservation strategies, including fluctuating body temperatures, concentrated urine, and dry feces. They also lick dew from their noses and reabsorb water from feces to minimize fluid loss. Compared to cattle, dik-diks have fewer sweat glands, further aiding in water conservation. Behaviorally, they are highly nocturnal, seeking shade during the day to avoid fluid loss. They are herbivorous and concentrate selectors, preferring nutrient-rich leaves and fruits that are easily fermented and digested. They are water-independent and rely on vegetation as their primary source of water in their harsh habitat. The saiga, primarily found in central and northern Eurasia, has fossils dating back to the late Pleistocene. Several extinct saiga species were once widespread but are now considered geographical variants of the extant species. They are notable for their downward-directed, bloated nostrils and distinct seasonal coat changes from yellow-red in summer to grayish-brown in winter, with a mane forming on the neck. Male saiga possess horns with 12 to 20 rings, used in rituals and medicine, which drives poaching and smuggling. They form large herds in semi-deserts and steppes, feeding on various plants, some toxic to other animals. Mating season starts in November, with dominant males leading groups of females. Births occur mostly in spring, with 2/3 being twins. Saiga face threats from habitat loss due to agricultural expansion and human settlements, which fragment their habitats and restrict migration routes. Climate change exacerbates challenges by increasing aridity, degrading pasturelands, and causing extreme weather events like deadly winter conditions and spring floods. These factors contribute to periodic mass die-offs, impacting saiga populations significantly. The Mongolian gazelles differ from true gazelles in their fluffy, teddy bear-like appearance and facial resemblance to Chinese water deer rather than gazelles. Their coat is tawny light brown with pinkish tones in summer, growing thicker, longer and paler in winter, marked by a distinctive heart-shaped white patch on the rump. Males sport lyre-shaped horns that curl backward from the forehead. They are adept long-distance runners and capable swimmers. They are diurnal in winter but more active around sunrise and sunset in summer, migrating seasonally based on weather and food availability. During summer, they typically gather in groups of 20 to 30 individuals, expanding to around 100 in winter, although herds of up to 5,000 are not uncommon. They remain abundant in the wild with a small captive population, though the population trend is uncertain. In 2007, a massive herd of 250,000 Mongolian gazelles was observed, highlighting their presence in vast wilderness areas. The Dama gazelle is distinguished by its white coat with a reddish-brown head and neck, and both sexes typically possess medium-length, S-shaped horns. Males' horns reach about 35 centimeters in length, while females have shorter horns. It has long legs and a long neck adapted for desert life, needing more water than some desert species but resilient to drought. Unlike nocturnal desert mammals, it is diurnal and employs pronking to signal danger by hopping with stiff legs. The Dama gazelle faces critical endangerment, with its wild population decreasing by 80% in the past decade, now numbering fewer than 500 individuals. Threats include habitat destruction from pastoralism, water scarcity exacerbated by droughts, and diseases transmitted from livestock. Human activities such as mechanized hunting, habitat disturbance, and civil unrest further threaten its survival, leading to extirpation from several countries and inadequate protection in remaining habitats. Grant's gazelle exhibits a beige-orange coat on the back with a white belly and distinctive lyre-shaped horns measuring 45 to 80 centimeters long, used primarily by males. Found in East Africa, they live in small to medium-sized herds segregated into females with juveniles and bachelor groups. During mating season, males become territorial and form harems, although confrontations rarely result in violence. Preferential habitat includes short grassy plains and sparse arid scrublands, avoiding high grass areas to maintain visibility against predators. They are adapted to semi-arid conditions, supplementing water intake with leafy browse during dry seasons, and occasionally migrating seasonally along distinct routes unlike other savanna ungulates. Human activities such as hunting for meat and habitat encroachment further endanger their population. The Gerenuk, a tall and slender antelope resembling gazelles, features a distinctive long, slender neck, wedge-like head, and large round eyes. Males stand 100 centimeters tall at shoulder and weigh 30 to 50 kilograms, and only them sport lyre-shaped horns. Their coat displays reddish-brown dorsal parts and lighter fawn to buff flanks, with a cream-colored underbelly and white facial fur. Females have a dark patch on the crown. Sympatric with the Dibatag in eastern and central Somalia and southeastern Ethiopia, the Gerenuk shares similar features but is distinguished by its longer neck and shorter tail. It exhibits a solitary lifestyle among males, while small herds of 2 to 6 members, often segregated by sex, characterize their social structure. As a browser, the gerenuk feeds on foliage, shoots, herbs, flowers, and fruits, using its elongated neck to reach heights over 2 m by standing on hind legs. It consumes acacia species and evergreen vegetation during droughts, with a pointed mouth adapted for extracting leaves from thorny vegetation. Interestingly, gerenuks do not regularly drink water, relying on moisture from their diet and occasional rain exposure. In an experiment investigating the impact of dehydration and heat stress on food intake and dry matter digestibility, Thomson's gazelle displayed metabolic adaptations suited for desert environments. Exposure to heat stress alone did not affect either the food intake or digestion of Thomson's gazelle. In contrast to some other East African ruminant species that altered their food intake and digestion under heat stress conditions, Thomson's gazelle showed a relatively robust adaptation to periodic heat stress. However, being reliant on water, it experienced reduced food intake when exposed to dehydration. Moreover, food intake decreased further when dehydration was combined with heat stress, partly due to lowered metabolism, which aids in water conservation. A small fast antelope, the Thomson's gazelle is claimed to have top speeds up to 80 to 90 km per hour. It is the fourth fastest land animal. Dorcas gazelles are well adapted to desert life, primarily obtaining water from the succulent plants in their diet. While they rely on these plants for hydration, they do seek out water sources and will drink whenever available. These gazelles are resilient, able to withstand high temperatures and intense sunlight. They are mainly active from dusk to dawn, although they may shift to nocturnal activity in areas with high human predation risks to reduce the chance of being hunted. Their diet includes leaves, flowers, and pods from various acacia trees, as well as the leaves, twigs, and fruits of desert bushes. After rainfall, they may dig for bulbs. Dorcas gazelles can reach impressive speeds, running at up to 80 km per hour. When faced with danger, they use a defensive behavior called stotting, where they leap with their heads held high, possibly to signal to predators that they have been detected. Springbok are crepuscular, primarily active around dawn and dusk, adjusting their activity patterns based on weather conditions. They may feed at night in hot weather and during midday in colder months, seeking shade or resting in the open when temperatures are cooler. Vigilance behavior in springbok varies with herd dynamics and environmental factors, with individuals on the edges of herds exhibiting higher vigilance levels. During the rut, males establish territories marked by urination and dung piles, engaging in aggressive horn fights with neighboring males. Historically, springbok engaged in mass migrations known as trekboking during drought periods, though this behavior is now less common. Pronking is a distinctive behavior of springbok, involving repeated high leaps into the air, often accompanied by lifting a conspicuous white flap of hair along the back. This behavior is thought to serve various purposes, including signaling alarm to predators, confusing them, or displaying strength to attract mates. Springbok are incredibly fast, capable of speeds up to 90 km per hour, and face predation from a variety of carnivores. Blackbucks are known for their striking appearance, with a glossy black coat on the back contrasting sharply with a white underbelly and inner legs. Males have long, twisted horns that can reach up to 70 centimeters in length, while females are hornless. They are renowned for their incredible speed and agility. They can sprint at speeds of up to 80 km per hour, making them one of the fastest land animals in India. When startled or excited, they also exhibit pronking. This involves leaping high into the air with all four legs extended and arched, a spectacular display of agility and strength. Blackbucks have faced significant threats due to habitat loss and hunting. However, conservation efforts in India, including protection in sanctuaries and reserves, have helped stabilize their populations. They prefer open grasslands and plains, where their speed and agility serve them well in evading predators and finding suitable forage. During the breeding season, males perform elaborate displays to attract females, including vocalizations and physical posturing. Dominant males fiercely defend their territories from rival males. They are known for their resilience in adapting to various environmental conditions, although they face ongoing threats from human activities.